updates here from Pop Turner, speaking to Thomas Ian Nicholas about the comedy series Underdeveloped. Welcome back to the show, man. It's so good to see you.
Good to see you as well. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it's one of those things where I saw sprinkles of announcements for this project, right? That's how it kind of always is, right? There's like BTS shots, there's like the poster that's behind you, and then release dates and everything. I think the thing that's really cool about this is it seemed like, yeah, people getting together working on something, but people that know each other, that work with each other before getting together, which I feel like makes it a lot more special, right?
Yeah, in fact, I worked with Tom Arnold 20 years ago, and we've stayed in touch all that time. Yep. To where, what's cool about Tom is he'll always get back to me. He's never like ghosted me. Mm-hmm. And even if he's busy, he'll just be like, hey, buddy, thanks for thinking of me. So I can tell you, though, that we knew that he was perfect for this project. And when he read it, he knew he was perfect for this project.
And Brian, who you worked with on Adverse, doing another project there.
I have been working with Brian for 20 years. And Kelly Arjun joined the team about 8 years ago. So, we've got a shorthand on how we communicate.
Sometimes it just clicks, though, right? Like I collab with other people too. Sometimes it just clicks, right?
For sure. And these three, the three of us, we're the three amigos. We click.
Yeah, absolutely. There's obviously some kind of announcements and everything. People are eventually going to be able to see this. What can you tell us specifically about this project that you really think is going to hit stride with the audience and where people will be able to see it?
Well, people will be able to see it on September 8th worldwide on Tubi. If it's not available on Tubi in their country, it will be on another network that I can't talk about until September 8th.
Worldwide, though, isn't that crazy to think about? Like you make a thing,
it's awesome.
You rap worldwide on the
worldwide. So this one, as I was saying right before we started officially the interview, it's very apropos the timing of this, considering the SAG and WGA strike that's going on. Our project, of course, has signed a waiver or an interim agreement. So just to explain that for a little bit, you'll understand why the mockumentary about, a workplace comedy is so timely right now. So first of all, the reason we're on strike is because there's 160,000 members of SAG and 87% of them make less than $25,000 a year. So that's who we're fighting for. The second thing is SAG only gets 2% of residuals from streamers. So they asked for 11. The AMPTP offered 5. We went on strike. So the interim agreement means we are going to pay our actors 11%. Mm-hmm. So despite the greediness and inequality of pay that you'll see from the characters on the show, we as actual producers are not those people. And that's sort of the timely thing about this show and what it deals with. It handles all the serious topics that everyone has to endure in workplaces: nepotism, favoritism, inequality of pay, racism, you name it. We've got it in the show. We just get to have a laugh about it because, and it's something that everyone can relate to. You don't have to be in the industry to understand losing out on a promotion to your boss's cousin.
And I feel like comedy series, like this comes up a lot because I interview a lot of people from sitcoms and stuff, but like there's always been like a serious undertone with like sitcoms, I feel like but Boy Meets World was like my favorite show growing up, right? And then you go watch it now and you look back and like there was some like intense stuff in that show.
Well, that's the best part about comedy is, there doesn't have to be, not all comedy is mindless comedy. So it may appear mindless, but then, yes, if you peel the layers away, you'll see that we're tackling serious issues that if it was a drama would be like too close to reality that no one would want to watch that. Yeah. No one wants to watch a drama dealing with their own like struggles and trials and tribulations at work. So let's have a laugh about it instead.
When you worked on shows like movies like Adverse, which is like a mindset of like the action, the drama, very serious, kind of like we talked about at the beginning of the before we started the interview. We did that last time too. We had like that pre-interview before the interview started.
Next time, just hit record, do the intro, and let's go.
I know. No, it's funny because I remember talking to you about Rookie of the Year t-shirts like before we started the interview last time. So, but no, I feel like, does the mindset change a little bit from an acting perspective when you work on something like Adverse and you work on something like Underdeveloped, or is it all storytelling in your opinion, preparation and kind of mind-wise?
The preparation and the tech, I mean, obviously the techniques are slightly different, but they still exist. The preparation is still the same. You're still writing the character's backstory and defining who they are. And in both projects, you can ask Brian Metcalf, I like right before we started shooting, I completely have a nervous breakdown about like what I'm going to do for the character.
Yeah.
And this has become my MO. I'm a very calm person, but when it comes to like prepping for a character, that moment before I jump out the plane and, create it and put it on, film or tape or whatever, I'm always like, oh no, I don't know what I'm doing. What if I don't understand the character? What am I going to do?
You know what
I don't have a handle on this.
You're throwing a fastball double. You know what you said? You say, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Yes, I was going to put that in there at some point, and you set me up perfectly for that one.
Pretty much, yeah. The only, I guess. Well, listen, that worked out well for Henry Rowan-Gardner. He scored a home run off of that walk.
Take my base. I can hear that. I mean, but like you said too, when we talked about Tubi, like it's gonna be on Tubi worldwide, Underdeveloped. People are gonna be able to see that. I mean, you did those projects like Rookie of the Year, even like American Pie. You're older compared to Rookie of the Year and King Arthur's Court, but like it's cool that they're gonna be around and people have access to it, right? Like that's a cool thing to think about, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy that you can kind of access whatever you want now. It's not the days of when I was growing up, when we had to wait till Saturday morning at 9 a.m. to watch our favorite cartoon. And, on Thursdays at 8 p.m., if you missed the show, that was it. Yep. You had to watch next week and catch the recap and try to figure out what you missed.
Or you have to wait when American Pie 2 is going to be on TBS, you know what I mean? Or something like that.
Well, yeah, but the TBS version of American Pie is about 20 minutes long.
Fair point. I think Rookie of the Year used to be on TBS too, because the whole baseball thing. I used to watch that all the time. Thomas Ian Nicholas acts. Thomas Ian Nicholas also performs music. You're also a musician. Are there any times in your career doing both, did you think they were competing with each other or getting in the way of each other, or did they always feel like they complemented each other?
No, and they always complement each other. And here's a perfect example, actually, that of course, relates back to Underdeveloped. So last year, I wrote a parody of Bowling for Soup's 1985 called 1999 that I wrote with Jarrett Reddick.
Jarrett Reddick has also been on Popternative as well. I've interviewed him. Yeah.
And Jarrett Reddick is the narrator in Underdeveloped.
Oh my God, so good.
And if you can't see it in this poster, but you'll see it. This is a hidden Easter egg for you. Take a look at Joe, my character's hat. It kind of looks like a Bass Pro Shop hat,
but it's not.
But it is a Bowling for Soup hat done like a Bass Pro Shop logo.
That interview was when I did that interview with him. It was about like his podcast and stuff. And like they did that song about they did all the songs about like pro wrestling and everything. But like that was crazy because the amount of songs that they have and like songs that were featured in so many movies, it was like crazy. You could do like a podcast series about how many like songs are in movies for Bowling for Soup.
My biggest gripe is that we never put one in American Pie. So I'm going to put it in my contract if we ever do American Pie 5. That part of my deal will be they have to put a Bowling for Soup song in.
You got brought up in my interview with Jason Biggs last month where I talked about the story you told me where they put Dude Ranch in your trailers and said that it was going to be the next Green Day. Because I was talking to Jason Biggs about something and like we were talking about the music component of it. We were even talking about though, even like American Reunion, when the movie dropped, the trailer dropped for it, they used Last Night by Good Charlotte. Like all the American Pie movies have like the best music.
It's synonymous with pop punk for sure. I mean, I remember when my band started playing like pop punk festivals in the UK, it just made sense.
Mhm.
And it was like, everyone was like, oh my gosh, they're hand in hand.
And it's like, and I've discovered so many bands, like Sum 41. Like, I would not know that band if it wasn't for American Pie movies. Like, you know, when you invite Stifler and then the Fat Lip plays, that was like the first time I'm pretty sure I heard that song.
So thanks to Jarrett, last year I played a charity event called Charity Bomb, like a Strange 90s opening night to When We Were Young Fest last year, which I'll be at again this year. But awesome. At the Charity Bomb event was members from Goldfinger and from, oh my gosh, I'm spacing I was going to name like 3 bands that were all on the soundtrack, and now my mind just drew a blank.
That's so crazy, though, to think about how many amazing bands were on the American Pie soundtrack. That's crazy. Weezer. I can go on. But, like, I find it interesting, too, because American Hi-Fi, everyone talks about favorite of the week. My favorite American Hi-Fi song is Vertigo because it's in an American Pie movie.
You know, that was just a demo.
I know, but it's so good.
It's so good. I've actually thought about covering that song live. I love that song.
I was in punk rock bands growing up. PD Beats was my stage name, man. I played drums. So like I was in all those bands growing up and everything. So like we could talk music for hours. I've interviewed like Ryan from Yellow Card on my show. I just interviewed Tyson Ritter from All American Rejects. And it is really crazy, man, because it's like
that's who was there was Nick Wheeler from All American Rejects at the Charity Bomb show. Thank you.
It's crazy because you just name them all, and then at one point you're gonna hit them, right? I could have been like, it was a Newfound Glory, was it American Hi-Fi? Boom.
Yeah, well, I was just hanging with Ryan Key on the Emo's Not Dead cruise last year, which I'll be at on again this year because I'm doing emo.
Were you always a big pop punk fan? Like you like all music, but like were you always a big fan, or did you get into it mainly around the American Pie days?
I mean, I would say that like there's such similarities in my mind. I mean, I first started in grunge, because that's when I started playing guitar. Mm-hmm. But I quickly kind of delved into like a crossover, I would say, between grunge alternative and pop punk. Mm-hmm. I'm obviously not like that. My songs aren't really fast enough to be considered pop punk.
Generation is a tune. Flavor. Generation. You have a song called Generation, don't you?
I have a song called My Generation.
My Generation. Yeah, it's a two.
Yeah, My Generation is pop punk. That's on the American Reunion soundtrack. It's a
great song. It's it all the time.
It's creeping up to 800,000 plays on Spotify, which for an unsigned DIY band, I mean, S-Bam in Austria calls me a pop punk DIY band because the part of me that's pop punk is the fact that I've been doing it on my own since I was 15.
I mean, do you find, though, the term indie rock weird? Because some of the
indie rock is also my 5th album is totally indie rock.
No, but I just find it ironic where like indie rock, you think of bands like Arctic Monkeys, Tame Impala, Vampire Weekend, right? These are like the biggest bands in the world, and it's indie music, and these bands are playing stadiums.
Right.
Do you find that's weird? Like it started like kind of like they were just doing their own thing, but like do you find that kind of misleading a little bit? Like it's rock.
I never saw it that way because when I heard like bands like that, as well as Atlas Genius and Young the Giant and Temper Trap, I got super inspired by all that, and my 5th album has that same sound. So I just always equated it with a sound. I never bought into the term indie because I also like I was talking to a guy. I was just on tour in England, and we were arguing about how he liked punk like from the 70s, like Sex Pistols. Mm-hmm. And he's like, so do you sound like that? I'm like, no, I sound like pop punk. He goes, pop punk.
Hey. If it wasn't for, do you feel, I feel like the Ramones, like I talked to a lot of bands and like pop punk bands and everything, even punk rock bands, like they both say that like Ramones was like a big one for them. Like that one was a band that like a lot of music wouldn't be around if it wasn't for that band.
I mean, I definitely have heard that. I think what's really trippy is that I listened to the 70s a lot when I was growing up. Yep. And then one of the first songs I always, used to say, because I saw Wayne's World, I was like, the first song I learned how to play was Stairway to Heaven because I wanted to be funny. But technically speaking, the first song I ever learned how to play was If by Bread,
Mhm.
which I only came to find out a couple years ago that Bread was a big influence for Radiohead. So there's a sonic foundry in my music that kind of is in that sort of style. But Nirvana got me in. I grew up with 70s. I mean, I'm influenced by like basically all mainstream music
It's so
that has
crazy.
preceded me.
When you work on something like Underdeveloped, because I feel like American Pie movies were a big part of your life because you did so many of them, and even when you did, Rookie of the Year, you did the kid in King Arthur's Court, like you're on those sets for a good amount of time, so there's going to be a big absorbment of knowledge and experience no matter what. Do you feel like sometimes you bring things from American Pie to Underdeveloped, or like did you bring things from Rookie of the Year to King and Kid Arthur's Court? Like I'm just thinking about that, or like do you separate all the projects?
I mean, I think that no matter what you do and experience in your life and work, you retain some of those things, and then they are kind of are part of your DNA at that point.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say that it's a purposeful like, oh, let me grab this piece and place it here in the show. But I am a culmination of everything that I've experienced and work that I've created. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, of course, those things are going to fall in line there. But I've always had it in mind to be a character lead. So I always try to bury myself into the character completely, to the point where some people, when people watched Adverse, they didn't recognize me right away. And when people look at this, they go, oh, are you on the poster? Oh, wait, is that you with a mustache? Like, it's all those sorts of things. Really quick, though, on a total side note, I'm going to let you in on some inside information because you love music so much.
I appreciate it.
Because you've interviewed Jarrett.
Yes.
We are currently cutting, we don't have a release date for it, but we're currently a music video.
Music video?
Well, no, I mean, I'm cutting a record. I'm working on my 7th album, and I've already written a song with Jarrett Reddick. I wasn't trying to tell you about that. That's coming out next summer. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
No. We're cutting a music video together for one of Bowling for Soup's songs off their last original album that's going to go with Underdeveloped. So it's currently in post-production right now. So you want to know what song it's for?
Did you just meet like Jared through like the music stuff, or like was it did someone introduce you? Like how did you both meet?
You're gonna laugh at this one, and hopefully I tell it right, because the last time I told this opening for Jarrett, he corrected me in the middle of my story from the audience. So when we were doing Adverse,
yes,
and promoting it, and we talked 2 years ago, I guess it was, we were still in lockdown, and so I got an offer to do Jarrett Goes to the Movies podcast and watch American Pie. And I said,
I know this. I've listened to that episode. I know this. Yes. Okay.
Well, you know the episode when we finally did it, but I got offered that episode a year previous to that when I was in the promotion cycle for Adverse. So I said, I'm not doing nostalgia right now. I'm just focused on Adverse and drama and kind of reinventing myself. So I'm regrettably going to pass right now. But maybe let's do it later. The only news that Jarrett got from that was, oh, he doesn't want to talk about American Pie. So Jarrett was like, well, that's silly. So he went and did the podcast without me and called me out about it. Rightfully so. So,
oh my God.
So cut to a year later, I'm now like Adverse has come out. I'm like through that cycle. Now I'm back to doing like retro screenings and Comic-Con events and nostalgia, and like life's getting back. So I get an offer to watch American Pie with a live audience for the venue owner's friends podcast, who happens to be Jarrett Reddick. So I say, that sounds great. Jarrett says, no way that guy said yes. He doesn't want to talk about American Pie. Now, you got to understand something. We had been told by various mutual friends that if we ever got together, we would be friends, that we would get along like two peas in a pod. Mm-hmm. So he calls me up, and we do like a little like chat about what we're going to do. We're getting along. Then he asked me to do the Rockstar Dad show. So I do that. Now we're just like chatting every day, two peas in a pod. We go and do the live audience in Dallas, watch American Pie. And I say, let's play a show afterwards. So we're playing the show. And that's when we've, had a couple of libations during the podcast. So he plays 1985. He finishes the first chorus and he goes, we should sing lyrics about American Pie instead. And we're like, we tried it and failed, but that's where the idea was conceived. And then I did the TikTok video, and then it got 500,000 plays. And then I wrote the lyrics with Jarrett and recorded with Bowling for Soup. I mean,
I think it's a tough one, especially like when we're on here talking about Underdeveloped. But I mean, it's interesting because you prepare after doing I've been doing this thing, man, since 2015, but it only started exploding and become a big global media outlet during the pandemic, 2021. But you learn to feel it out. You know what I mean? We're here to talk about Underdeveloped, but you learn quickly from someone's vibe, if you can bring up other things.
Right.
You know what I mean? And when we talked about Adverse, to be honest with you, it's fun. It's really interesting that you bring that up about you being serious and everything. I didn't get that vibe. We obviously, you're there to talk about that movie. We talked about that movie, right? And then I asked the American Pie question, and we went into it. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. It wasn't so much that I wasn't willing to. I'm always willing to talk about all aspects of my career.
Oh, there's some people that probably don't want to. It's probably I did this
sure.
20 years ago. I'm talking.
I mean, look, it worked out well for Jared Leto. When he was first doing 30 Seconds to Mars, he didn't want to talk about his acting career at all.
You want to hear something really funny quickly about that? I saw 30 Seconds to Mars not knowing who they were at all. Not knowing that Jared Leto was. So I went to go see Audio Slave with Seether and this opening band called 30 Seconds to Mars. And I'm there. I have no idea. I just thought they were a local band. And I had no idea it was Jared Leto. And they I actually went and bought their CD. And I'm pretty sure he was there while I was buying it at the show.
Right.
And I had no idea. Everyone was telling me, yeah, Jared Leto, Requiem for a Dream. I had no idea. So I just want to say that quickly. But I get it.
But then he went from that. And he went back into acting. Dallas Buyers Club, wins an Oscar, and then he's back. Now he's doing both. So it's it makes sense. And it's when as a creative mindset, you're always going to be focused on the thing that you're doing.
Yep.
And that's kind of how committing to Underdeveloped and it being this kind of timely thing on. And I mean, look, I kind of pulled the Jared Leto on this project. I grew that mustache, but I also gained a little weight because it wouldn't make sense to play a disgruntled producer and be, in shape like I was for Adverse. Mm-hmm. So I had put on a few pounds for this one, which I always said I was never going to do. And it sucks. But it was worth it because it's funny. Because that way, when you see my character, even in the teaser trailer, getting passed up for the promotion that he's supposed to get, and Tom Arnold's like, well, no, you're still running the division. You just don't have any title, money, or prestige because, they gave it to his brother-in-law.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can't wait for people to be able to check it out on Tubi in September. That's awesome, man. Congratulations.
Like I said, it'll be on Tubi. And again, if it's not on that one, it will be on the other platform that also has commercials that you can also see it everywhere too. I just can't talk about it until September.
No
8th.
worries. That when the announcements come out, they come out. It's so funny too. When I do interviews with people, there's so much news that they're before we start, there's a lot of things I want to tell you, but I can't. And I'm like, it's fine. Let's just talk. You know what I mean? And then you just do it. But I know I get it as well. But Thomas, I just wanted to say, man, thank you again for coming back on the show, dude. I really, really appreciate having you back on. Seriously, man.
Dude, it's my pleasure. And P.S., the other network I'm talking about might be owned by one of the multi-billionaires that we know in the world.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. No, there's no...
So that pretty much sums it up because you know that Musk doesn't own one.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, before we get into that, but yeah, they're going to be able to see it on Tubi. And is it still TIN banned on social media for you?
Yeah, because my name's too damn long for social media.
So it's Tin Band.
Tin Band is my acronym. That's the website address, the Instagram, the TikTok, the Snapchat, the all X.
That jazz. Yeah, X, absolutely. Well, this has been popturn.com/. Oh, sorry, what were we gonna say?
Or I was gonna say, or even that other one that I posted 3 things on, then forgot about till just this moment. TikTok? That was started by Facebook.
Threads.
That's the one. Yeah, I totally forgot I even had the thread.
Well, this has been Pop-Turnative. YouTube.com/Pop-Turnative previous episodes. Until next time, this is Thomas E. Nicholas. You can catch Underdeveloped on Tubi in September. And PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Pop-Turnative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Pop-Turnative on YouTube.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.